Faith in God is the first factor for a life devoted to service. Without faith, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. A great educator, civil rights leader, trusted advisor to 4 U.S. presidents, and founder of the largest African American women's organization in the world. Mary McLeod Bethune was a woman of deep faith. She often remarked that the greatest power is faith in God, but great too is faith in one's self. Mary had both. I'd like to share with you a story of how Mary came to found her school and some of the trials and tribulations she had to go through to do it. Today, that school graduates thousands of students from all over the world. Truly, it is a testimony to the power of faith. This is her story. It was 1904, and there were very few schools for African Americans at that time. It had only been a short time since the days of slavery, and most African Americans were woefully ignorant and uneducated. Mary had come to Daytona Beach, Florida, with the express intention of starting a school. She believed in education. She said her whole world opened when she learned how to read, and she felt that the key that would unlock the door of servitude and degradation was education. The problem Mary had was that she only had $1.50 to her name. Now, that was not much money even back then. But Mary was undeterred because she was a woman of strong faith. And so she set out to find a place where she could start. She left no stone unturned, going here, there, and everywhere until at last she found a 2-story ramshackle cottage that sat on the edge of a dump. It wasn't much to look at, but it was a start. And that's where she started. Mary called on her church members and people in the community and asked them to come and give her a helping hand. And they turned out in full force. They worked as a team and cleaned that old building from top to bottom. While they patched the roof to keep the rains out. They mopped the floors. They washed the windows so that the sun could come through. And once they finished all their cleaning, they all pitched in and gave it a good coating of paint and then put up a sign that said, Daytona Normal and Industrial School for Negro Girls. Hallelujah! They were excited. It was the beginning of a school for their children. But Mary didn't stop there. Oh no, she knew it was only a small beginning. She called for donations, asking people to give chairs and couches and whatever they had to help build this school. And when they saw her great faith and determination to bring this gift from God to her people, they opened their hearts and gave what they had. Then God gave Mary another great idea. She went out behind the ritzy hotels that dotted the waterfront and went down into their trash cans and pulled out discarded items that she could use for her school. She found broken plates, saucers, and cups, and forks, and knives, and spoons, and mirrors that she glued back together. And she found old rugs that could be mended, and she cleaned them and put them down. While she even found 5 wooden packing crates and used her creative thinking and turned them into desks. She then took charcoal to make pencils for her students to write with and mashed up elderberries so that they would have ink. Finally, the first day of school arrived, and Mary had 5 little girls and her son to instruct. And so her teaching began. Mary believed in the importance of teaching the whole child, and her teaching philosophy was called the head, heart, and hand teaching method. For the head, Mary stressed reading, writing, and arithmetic, and she stressed for the heart good, strong, moral character. She said character is power, and she instructed her students directly from the Bible, giving them passages to memorize and teaching them stories that they could emulate in terms of character development. And then for her hand, she taught them how to become self-sufficient by learning how to sew and cook and clean and do gardening and make rugs. She wanted them to not only be able to stand on their own 2 feet, no matter where they were in the world, but to also make excellent mothers and good wives to their husbands. Well, Mary's school grew fast, seeing that children were coming from everywhere, and many of their parents could not afford the 50 cents, but Mary never turned them away. She said, we must always invest in a human soul because you never know. It could be a diamond in the rough. And so the parents would bring chickens and food and whatever they had to give. The school resources were so meager, but Mary used everything she had to help sustain it and make it grow. At night, she would bake sweet potato pies and make ice cream. And early in the morning before school began, she would go out on her bicycle and sell them all over Daytona and talk to people about her school. On certain days, she'd get all dressed up and cross over the railroad tracks and go into the wealthy white areas and go door to door, asking people to help her with her school. She got many doors slammed in her face, but she didn't care because God had given her a mission to help her people. Mary's school grew quickly, and within 2 years, she had more than 250 students. She had no more room for another child, and she knew she must expand. One day, Mary saw a for sale sign on the trash dump next to her school. Well, that trash dump was called Hell's Hole, and it was so foul and filled with garbage that absolutely nobody else was interested in it but Mary. You see, she could see what others could not. She had a vision of greatness for her school and faith enough to believe that it was possible. She needed land to build her school on, and she saw that for sale sign as a gift from God. With only $5 down, she bought it. And then she called on her church members and neighbors to come and help her to clean it up. And they did. After that, Mary's fundraising efforts doubled. She realized that if she was to build the great school that she had envisioned, that she had to find some wealthy patrons who would support it and help to give it the firm financial foundation that was needed. And so she prayed. She asked God to give her the guidance she needed to meet the people that could help her. And he did. She noticed that there were very wealthy people coming to Daytona Beach during the winter months. They called them snowbirds. And they were staying in the ritzy hotels along the waterfront. She realized that the hotels were always looking for entertainment. Mary decided to form a choir and teach her students all of the beautiful old Negro spirituals. And so she set to work. She trained them over and over and over again until their voices had harmonized so well and the soloists could sing from the depths of their souls and touch the spirit all who heard them. And when they were ready, Mary went to see the managers at the various hotels and offered their services as a form of entertainment for the wealthy patrons. Many of the hotel managers accepted. And so on certain days of the week, Mary would take her students and up into the hotels they'd go, into the rooms where the wealthy patrons were seated. These young girls would sing from the depths of their souls with pathos and emotions. Many times you would see tears falling from the patrons' eyes. Once they'd finished, Mary would take the floor and she would begin to tell them about this great school she was building and how it would help to lift her people and also help the nation. And wallets would open and pocketbooks would open. People would give sizable contributions to help her school. One day, there was a very wealthy man seated in that audience who was quite impressed. He listened to the choir sing the beautiful, haunting melodies, and then he listened to Mary talk about this great school that she was building. Why, he did give a contribution, but all that night he couldn't stop thinking about what she'd said. And so early the next morning, he decided to have his chauffeur drive him out so he could take a look for himself. When he got there, Mary greeted him warmly and showed him all around. But then he said, "But Mary, I thought you said you were building a great school. Where is it?" And she said, "That great school is in my mind and in my heart. Come with me. I'll show you what I'm talking about." And with that, she led him out to the vacant land that had once been a trash dump. And as they stood there, she began to allow her dream of this great school to pour forth from the depths of her soul. She started to point out the different areas of land that she wanted to build on. She pointed out where the administration building would be and what it would house and how there would be classes that would teach the students to strive for excellence. Then she showed him where she wanted to build the library and how it would be a great house of knowledge for the students. She talked about the kinds of books that would be housed there. On and on she went, pointing here and looking there as the dream for this great school poured forth from the depths of her soul until finally she was spent. The air around the two of them had become so rarefied with the glory of God that neither one of them could speak. And they stood there in the silence, looking across the land. Finally, the gentleman spoke. He said, "Oh, Mary, you have been given a great mission from God to build this school, and I want to be a part of it. Not only will I make a sizable contribution to this school, but I will also become a board member and speak to all of my wealthy friends about giving contributions and becoming board members as well." It was the miracle that Mary's faith had wrought. From that day forward, the school continuously grew until today it stands as a major university, a testimony to the power of faith. Mary's dream came true. As she said, faith in God is the greatest power, but great too is faith in yourself. I hope you were encouraged and inspired by the story of this great woman. If you were, why not become a subscriber or leave me a thumbs up? And of course, I enjoy hearing from you. Well, I've kind of overstayed my time, but I think it was well worth it. So for now, I'm going to say I love you, I bless you, and I am praying that the rest of your life will be the best of your life. Until next Wednesday, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I'll see you then. Toodaloo.